Hey everybody, Mike Trull, Amsoil dealer, 146-3115. Happy New Year. Today we're working on the 03 Accord, and what we're gonna do is pull an oil sample, send it to the lab, and see exactly what condition our Amsoil is in. So 1 year ago, you could go back and check out the video if you want. We switched this car over to the Amsoil 0W20 Signature Series, 100% synthetic motor oil, and the Amsoil filter, the EA15K13. And the oil and filter in severe service are recommended for 1 year, 15,000 miles. And if you were doing only highway miles, you could run this out to 25,000. Now what we're gonna do, it's been 1 year and 14,000 miles, so we're gonna pull a sample for fun, and I wanna show you guys the longevity of the product, and we're gonna be able to tell from the laboratory analysis exactly what's going on. And the big question I wanna answer is, are we going to change the oil and filter, or are we gonna just change the filter, which is 15,000 miles, and top off and keep running this oil? We'll see how good it is and what kind of shape it's in. All right, there's that mileage, 209,861. All right, guys, so I'll link to this stuff down below in the first comment. And so this is the prepaid UPS oil analysis kit. And this is a fluid pump and a length of the tubing, clean tubing. So we're gonna rip the bag open. I like to do the UPS prepaid because then you don't have to worry about, you can just drop it in any UPS box and you're good to go. Here's the bag and the paperwork that you'll fill out that you send in with your sample. Now, once you have an account with these guys, you can go ahead and submit your sample info online, which is a lot more convenient. But we're just screwing our sample bottle into the pump. We're gonna go down the dipstick tube. Now I cut this at an angle. Ideally you wanna get, you know, a little bit off the bottom of the pan. Anyway, so we're pulling our oil sample, and there's a fill line on the bottle, so we're gonna go all the way up to that line, and now the color of the oil isn't going to tell us anything, and that's why we're doing the analysis. I'll make sure I get enough to the fill line. I think we're about there. Yep, we're there. All right. So now we'll carefully disconnect that. And put our cap on. I want to make sure it's not cross-threaded. Okay. All right, so there'll be a barcode label in the kit that will affix to this, and then we'll fill out the information and send it in. All right, guys, and if you remember from a previous video, here's Buddy the dog. He's 3 months old. He asks that you subscribe, share, like, and comment. And of course, check out my links below in the first comment. Isn't that right, buddy? So guys, be sure to avail yourself of the Amsoil My Garage feature. You can see, I mean, there it is. You know, I've got my car stored, year, make, model, engine, and you can literally store any and all maintenance and info that you want. But here's more of what I wanted to see. You got the oil and filter change was just about a year ago, 195,586. So I'm at 14,000 some miles and just a week or two shy of 1 year. So we need to get this oil sampled and see how it's looking. But you can also see a lot of my other maintenance that I've done. I've done a lot of videos on this car. Most, if not all of this stuff, there's a video that I've done for it. So here is our sample all labeled up, ready to go. And so here's the form where I filled out the information. 14,275 miles, 1 year, total miles on the car. And I put in the notes the Amsoil filter I'm using. I do have a gold plug, magnetic oil drain plug, and this is a highway commute vehicle. So just trying to give them all the info. 0 oil added since the last change. This car is really tight in that way. Previous owner really took care of a lot of things, and so just all that information. Here's my info, guys. I'll have links down below in the first comment, but there's my dealer number / referral number if you're gonna go to amsoil.com, but you can also use my website links directly to Amsoil. But and in case you were wondering, so this filter, some of you aren't familiar with Amsoil, this is good for 15,000 miles or 1 year, and it does have a, if you can see that, that's a silicone anti-drain back valve. It's got the bypass valve down below. These are a full synthetic wire-backed media. You can actually see the wire backing through there, and that is a full synthetic media. And so that's what allows these filters to go longer. These filters are actually on back order currently, so just be patient. And there is a Wix listed online in its place, but obviously you're not going to run that 15,000 miles. So that's it, guys. We got it all labeled. We'll drop that in a drop box when I get around to it. And now for some verses of the day. We're going to jump in with Proverbs 6. And a lot of us are very hard workers. So I'm just saying, you know, this is in the Bible, and I don't know if you need to hear this, but here it is. Go to the ant, O sluggard, observe her ways and be wise, which having no chief, officer, or ruler, prepares her food in summer, gathers her provision in the harvest. How long will you lie down, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. Your poverty will come in like a vagabond, and your need like an armed man. Welcome to my study. Now, really, sometimes I just like to put stuff like this on YouTube in the background. Makes a nice ambiance. Anyway, I'll put a link down below. Definitely want to give credit to these guys. So hey, grab some coffee. Let's look at these results. For those of you wondering, since my Christmas video, Buddy is doing fine. Here he is chilling midday. He's a puppy. It's been a challenge, but he's doing good. Alright, so here it is. I've got my information there. If you want to look it up, my dealer number there at the top. But this is the 03 Accord. We're here in component information. Yeah, it's just basic info right here. I didn't get around to making this video as soon as I wanted to, but you can see I sampled the oil the 1st of January 2022. They got the sample on the 6th, completed it the next day, and I just haven't had time to make this video. But anyway, and the filter, for some reason they didn't have it, so I just wrote that in by hand. It is an Amsoil EA15K13, which is 99% efficient at 20 microns. Amsoil Signature Series, synthetic motor oil, 0W20. And I've highlighted myself in green right here in the comments section. We can read those two things, and that's going to give you the short answer of whether the oil is good after a year and 14,000 miles. And it says flagged data does not indicate an immediate need for maintenance action. And you drop down, oil is suitable for continued use. So that's the long and the short of it. But let's dive in and look at the details and why they flagged it as a severity 2, which is like moderate. So again, flag data does not indicate an immediate need for maintenance action. Continue to observe the trend and monitor equipment and fluid conditions. Bearing metal is at a moderate level. Now, I'll be honest, guys, that alarmed me at first. And when you see lead and tin in an oil sample, that's not what you want to see normally. So I did some research online, and there is a phenomenon called a particle streak. So let's say you did have a particle of dirt or foreign material go through your bearings. You know, it's gonna dig out, unfortunately. I'm cringing at the thought, but dig out some material. So 15 parts per million lead and 2 parts per million tin, you can see down below. And so that's definitely something we want to look at in the future. Well, let's go on. Viscosity is moderately high. So I'll post a screenshot of the SAE J300. And you can see exactly what viscosity ratings in centistokes a 20 weight oil is supposed to be. Causes include contamination, oxidation. You guys can read this, I think, if you zoom in, but if you're driving or something, I'll go ahead. Contamination, oxidation, incorrectly identified viscosity grade, or adding a different viscosity grade to the component. Flagged additive levels are different than what should be present for the identified lubricant. This may have been topped off with a different lubricant. The fluid may be misidentified, or a different lubricant or formulation may have been in use prior to a recent change. And that's what's going on here. I changed this oil. You could go back and look at the video from a year ago. I changed this car over to Amsoil for the first time at 195,000 miles, and the car now has 209. So there's probably some residual stuff going on there. And again, oil is suitable for continued use. Resample in 3,500 miles or 65 hours. And real quick, we'll drop down here to base number. We are at a 3.41. That's your total base number. That's your reserve alkalinity, which if that number ever goes to 0, then the acids, the byproducts of combustion, are going to attack your engine from the inside out, but we're not even close to that right now. Let's jump back up to wear metal. So iron wears at 13. I do have a magnetic drain plug that you can see in the video from a year ago. I installed at that time. And chromium 1, nickel 0, aluminum 2, copper 5. Again, these are in parts per million. Lead 15, tin 2, cadmium, silver, and vanadium at 0, silicon at 13, sodium 8, potassium and titanium are at 0. The multi-source metals, these can sometimes be from different sources. Molybdenum's at 149, and antimony 0, manganese and lithium also 0.
boron 48, magnesium 661, calcium 1180. Again, it sounds like we're talking about food here. Barium 0, phosphorus 571, zinc 684. On a side note, since these oils are intended for newer vehicles, the zinc and phosphorus are lower than what you would want to run if you had an old hot rod, solid cam, that type of stuff. If you're not using a roller cam and you've got some really you need high phosphorus and zinc, in other words, Amsoil has multiple options. Check out the Z-Rod line by Amsoil. And actually the motorcycle oils, the diesel oils, a lot of them are high in zinc and phosphorus. Especially the diesel oils they still make with the CI4 specification, the older spec. But obviously in a newer diesel you're going to be using the Signature Series with the CK4. Anyway, got off on a tangent there. Date sample, date received. So lube time, there's 14,275 miles on the oil. The unit itself, the car itself, has 209,861. Lube change, filter change, I put no because I have not yet. Lube added is also 0. I didn't add any oil during that interval. Again, fuel dilution, less than 1. Soot, less than, is that less than 1? Soot, less than 0.1. Water, less than 0.1. Again, my driving was interstate, though that may be changing going forward as I'm not going to have as big of a commute. Huge praise. Thank the Lord for that. Again, viscosity at 100 Celsius, 10.5 centistokes. So when we look at the J300 later, we can see where the number's supposed to be for a 20 weight oil. Again, base number 3.41, still very serviceable. Oxidation 46, nitration 15. Guys, so there you go. 1 year, 14,000 miles on Amsoil Signature Series, 100% synthetic motor oil, 0W20. Guys, my dealer number is there at the top, 146-3115. This is my website, number1synthetic.com. I will have links in the first comment below. If you want to check out the products and you want to help me out, be sure to use those links and or my dealer number at amsoil.com or amsoil.ca in Canada. Guys, I really appreciate you checking out my video, liking, subscribing. Guys, help me get to 1,000 this year. And yeah, share the video. And there's going to be a lot more to come. Again, a sample like this, I'll have links to the sample kit down below. It's going to be $30-some, UPS, prepaid shipping included. This is just to show you that this oil really does last. When it says 1 year, 15,000 miles in severe service, or 1 year, 25,000 in normal service, it's for real. Again, this is a car with 200,000 miles. So a car that's new, it might even hold up even better. And so now you're probably wondering, what am I going to do? Am I going to continue running this oil, or am I going to change it? Well, let's talk about that. While part of me wants to merely swap out my oil filter and top off the oil and keep running it, another part of me is looking forward to running some Amsoil Power Foam intake cleaner through my engine again. And it is recommended to change your oil after doing that. So We did that a year ago before changing the oil. Actually did it 3 times, which really helped the engine and the drivability after almost 200,000 miles when I got the car. And so I think I'd like to do it again and just maybe make it an annual thing to pull my intake tube and spray it into the throttle body. And so look for my video on that, where we did that, and possibly an upcoming video where we do it again. So, yep, I think what I'm going to do is when I get around to power foam in the engine, I'll go ahead and blow the soot out of it, as they say, for a day or two after that, and hopefully find a safe, legal place to do some full throttle blasts after doing the intake cleaner. And then at that time, I'll probably change the oil and filter, and we'll start over for another year. Like I said, my commute is now getting cut way down, which is a huge praise. I'll still have a little bit of 55 to 65 mile an hour highway driving, but it's much, much shorter. And so definitely won't be getting the kind of miles I have been in 1 year. I'll probably go down to 5,000 to 8,000 miles a year. And so that'll be a different type of stress on the oil, more city driving. So maybe we'll have to look at that in a year and let you know the update. Additionally, it would be good to look at an oil sample with the oil change and see what happens with that lead and tin. If it goes away completely, then we can probably say, hey, that was a particle streak, no big deal, nothing to worry about. But if it gets worse, we might have some issues going on. But I'm telling you, this Honda 3.0 V6 runs tight. I mean, it's quiet. It's got a lot of power. It doesn't use oil. So I really find it hard to believe that my bearings would be going, honestly. So we're going to go with that, and we'll check it out probably next year. Guys, again, subscribe, share, like, comment, and check out my links down below. Guys, thank you. God bless you. Thanks for sticking around this long, guys. So, the verse of the day, if you're part of the channel, you know I like to share verse of the day. So, we're in 1 Peter 3, and we're going to jump in at verse 8. Now, side note here, one of the reasons that I like the New American Standard translation of the Bible is that, do you see the all caps here? When you see the all caps like that in a New Testament passage in the NASB, what that is a quote from the Old Testament. So it's just kind of helpful that way. But here you have Peter quoting from Psalm 34, I think it is. So, but yeah, we could look that up as well when we have time. But anyway, 1 Peter 3, jumping in at verse 8. He is speaking to believers here. Sorry about my flash, it just cut out. But I think we can use this in the way we treat all people to represent Christ. So Peter says, to sum up, all of you be harmonious, sympathetic, brotherly, kind-hearted, and humble in spirit, not returning evil for evil or insult for insult, but giving a blessing instead. For you were called for the very purpose that you might inherit a blessing. For the one who desires life, to love and see good days, must keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. He must turn away from evil and do good. He must seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are toward the righteous, and his ears attend to their prayer. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. And I just thought of James. In the book of James, it says, God opposes the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. So those that are humble enough to see their need for Christ, their inability to please God apart from the righteousness that Christ imparts through faith in him, God gives grace. Also, this made me think of the idea of coram Deo. I'm assuming that's Latin, but it has to do with, it's talking about the living before the face of God. We know that God sees everything, but as believers, we want to live constantly aware of that. And so we live our lives before the face of God. So, all right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. A little bit of trial and error here. Okay, and then, it's amazing what you can find on YouTube.